Liminal spaces have made many of us on the internet both intrigued and uneasy for years now. There's something bizarre about seeing images of spaces normally bustling with activity that are instead empty and quiet. Or even spaces in general that should have pictures or desks, maybe some plants, something to give some color or life to a space. But it's empty. Just dead space. It's hard to explain why liminal spaces make us feel so uneasy. There's nothing around us that could hurt or harm us, and yet something is just off. It doesn't feel right. It's like a sister of silence is standing right behind us, silently emitting their psychic nulling power, sending shivers down our spine. Video games have also made similar liminal spaces, giving us an even greater level of unease. As now, we're not just seeing such a space, but being in said space. A space we feel we shouldn't be in. One such example of this is Doom. More specifically, the Doom 2 mod, myhouse.wad. myhouse.wad is a bizarre Doom 2 mod made from a guy named Veg on Doomworld. Originally was made by a late friend of his, being a Doom WAD map of said friend's house. Veg supposedly acquired the map when his friend had died, and attempted to finish it as a sort of tribute to him. Slowly though, he became undone by the map, but did eventually release it to Doomworld forums in March 2023. What was supposed to be a simple, fun tribute to a lost friend turned into a bizarre, liminal house of horrors. This spawned a massive internet mystery that spanned at least a year or so of searching for clues and making theories, but did eventually get solved. Mostly. It changed the face of Doomworld and set a new bar for Doom modding as a whole. I do recommend playing the mod. It's a fantastic map full of liminal spaces and made me feel rather uncomfortable many times. It requires GZ Doom, and I recommend downloading the PK3 specifically. But liminal spaces do exist in reality. But what if reality itself was a liminal space? In 2013, Wolfire Games, the same studio who would later release Overgrowth, if anyone remembers that, released the game called Receiver, a low-poly indie game made for a 7-day FPS challenge, featuring impressively specific gun handling and teeth-grinding difficulty to boot. Your goal, as a survivor of something called the Mindkill, is to hunt down and find 11 tapes in randomized assortment of buildings and survive an onslaught of automated turrets and deadly flying drones, all to become an awake receiver. You'll be armed with a random selected gun, being that of a 1911 A1, a Smith & Wesson Model 10, or a Glock 17, Wit the Switch, or whatever it is wannabe gangbangers on YouTube Shorts call it. Every single action to make your gun work is tied to a specific key press on your keyboard. You want to put in your mag? You press a key for that. You want to rack the slide? You press a key for that. Need to pull back your hammer? You press a key for that. Want to switch your safety off? You press a key for that. Need to swing your cylinder out? You press a key for that. Need to load your mag in with rounds you just now found after having to sprint past 6 turrets that narrowly missed you, and now you have a drone barreling toward you at breakneck speeds all because you ran dry dealing with 2 others chasing you? Hope you're not in too much of a panic because guess what? You press a key for that. Receiver is a simple looking game, but its formula worked very well for the time, and was well received by players. But 7 years later, Wolfire realized the potential of such a unique game and made a sequel. Receiver 2 was released in April 2020 to surprisingly massive praise, featuring a lot of new stuff. A new voice for the tapes.
While it's tempting to imagine that the Colt 1911 emerged fully formed from Browning's head like the goddess Athena, in fact it took more than a decade of iteration.
New dynamic music, much better graphics, new environments, new and better looking drones and turrets, and new guns to play with. along with new mechanics for them too, such as jams and feed failures. There's even a new holster mechanic, which causes you to have excessive hemorrhaging in your femoral artery because you just fired a 50 AE round into your thigh because you didn't safely holster the Desert Eagle for the 8th goddamn time. It sells itself as a true gun simulator, down to every pin and spring being modeled. But deep down, there's a strange, very liminal and hostile world with some of the most bizarre lore I have ever learned. The lore of this game is so liminal, its very words reach into the real world itself. And if you listen to them and take their information to heart, you might actually start seeing things differently. We begin by waking up in a bedroom. We have no memory about what happened before or how we got here. The first thing we see is a turret, whirring back and forth, searching in the dark for something. As we listen closer, the music is a strange track, seemingly ominous, yet calm. It's like some echo of music is playing, but it's in the background, like we're underneath it. We carefully sneak past it and realize we'll have to sprint past the next one, as it narrowly misses us. With nowhere else to go, we turn our focus toward the turret, thankfully without the worry of actually getting shot by it. This is a Killdrone, an automated turret to be specific. These things are looking for us, with no other motive than to kill any living being in this uncanny world. This one is thankfully a proto-turret and has exposed internals, allowing us to see its weak points. Memorize them, as they'll be very important throughout all your runs. Going tip to base, like the US Navy enjoys, the barrel is dead accurate, but can be altered if sufficiently damaged. The same can be said for the legs of the turret, as they can also bend and even break off, throwing it off balance. Mind you though, it's still very dangerous as most of the functional parts are still intact, so be careful. The box where the light is coming from is the turret's eye, the main method to spot targets, that being us. It emits a piercing blue light, capable of lighting up a pitch black room, so the darkness isn't going to help us remain unseen. It does have an exploitable range though. The turret's eye can't really see us beyond a pretty considerable but albeit very flexible range, so it's important to try and take advantage of that. Without its eye, it cannot see us at all, and therefore cannot retaliate. The thing next to it there is a motion detector. This helps the eye to identify and engage targets quickly, especially when they're moving. The turret's eye is the main way the turret is able to acquire a target, but the motion detector aids it significantly, so destroying it makes the turret take a little bit longer to engage. It's not worth destroying if the turret's active though. The large orange box is the turret's ammo supply. Contrary to popular belief, it does have a limited ammo supply, so if you have absolutely no way of sneaking up to or defending yourself against a turret, you can drain its ammo before moving in safely. It'll take a couple of reloads before that happens, but it can be done. Destroying it before it spots you will make it completely harmless, other than giving you a heart attack if you forget about it and then it spots you unexpectedly. If it has spotted you before though, it will still have one round loaded in the chamber, and can still fire it at you, so be careful. One single shot from a turret will kill you. Lower down into the base is the hydraulic motor, allowing it to spin and rotate depending on its area of coverage. If it's in a corner or a narrow passageway, it'll rotate to a certain point before stopping, then turning the other way after a short delay. If it's in the middle of the room or has excessive space all around it, it will keep spinning to cover all sides. If it spots a target above or below, it can and will pivot in a wide field of range to engage its target, so don't think you're completely safe on the high ground or lower down. The motor can be disabled, thankfully, causing it to be locked in place and therefore unable to effectively engage in its full range of motion. It can still spot us, but it can't aim at us. Finally, the battery in the back is the turret's main power source. It's located in the thickest part of the base, a very easy target. Destroying it will completely kill the turret. For now, we have no way of disabling or destroying this turret via normal means, but we can hack it, quote-unquote, by ripping the cord between the body and the base. Hacking Killdrones is a vital part of Receiver 2, as it helps to reserve a lot of ammo, but it's also very risky for some of the tougher Killdrones. Proto-turrets are pretty simple and easy to deal with, but later Killdrones are a lot harder to disable. Not only that, but also the drones too. Anyways, we destroy the turret, loot the ammo it dropped below, and move on. Just ahead is our first firearm, a Smith & Wesson Model 10 double-action revolver. At this point, if you're listening to this video while playing the game yourself, I recommend hitting the H or question mark key because this is going to get a little complicated. Reloading in Receiver 2 isn't just a simple button press. Instead, it requires multiple conscious actions and key presses to reload your firearm. What controls you have will differ from mine, but you can configure them to your liking. If you wish to use my keybinds, feel free to bind them now as you listen for each gun. Doubling back for the time being, we find that another turret is still blocking our path forward. There's no way past it without it spotting us, and there's no way we can just run past easily. But, now that we're armed, we can at least disable it from range. The best way to disable a turret is by taking out either the eye or the battery. We destroy the turret and move just ahead. We can hear a strange singing coming from somewhere not far. As we draw closer, it becomes apparent it's coming from the cassette tape.
When the Mindkill comes, you will likely have forgotten everything about your own life before entering the post-Mindkill environment. But everything that has become intuition, everything you've made a part of your inner self, the threat, is unable to erase. Therefore, it's important to train until the training becomes so natural that you give it no thought. Correct usage of your firearm has to become as natural as breathing for there to be any chance of success.
These tapes are vital to reaching the end of the game, to reach an awakened state. Moving on, we find an ammo box and a few red balloons. These will hold ammo in them. Not much ammo, but what little we find is all the more useful to our survival in this very strange place. This place being called the Dreaming, made by the Threat. Now, if you're confused about this Mindkill, the Dreaming, Awakening, the Threat, don't worry about that for right now. By playing this game, we'll learn a lot about such things, but for now, we just need to keep going. We've already collected half the necessary tapes to advance, so let's keep going. Continuing forward, you'll likely be scared of a special surprise waiting behind the corner. Don't worry, its ammo box is already broken, so it's completely harmless. That was a sleeping turret, and they rely on their motion detectors to wake up. They can be snuck up on and disabled through hacking, or you can shoot their motion detectors and keep them asleep, but this will cost you a bullet, so choose wisely. We continue forward and find our last tape.
It is vital that you know that you are not dreaming. This is real. This is the time you have prepared for.
From here, the game truly does begin, thrusting us into a liminal dream, seeking to kill us. In baseline, we'll encounter proto-turrets and normal turrets all around us, waiting for us to walk into their line of sight. With keen eyes and careful ears, we can and usually should avoid them and gain the upper hand against them. Talking about the music again, we have a quiet, soothing droning. The lack of music is helpful to us as we listen for turrets close by, but it ramps up when we aim at a Killdrone, or if one is aiming at us. This level of consciousness's track, a slow mind kill, is very similar to Receiver 1, but it's been remastered for Receiver 2. It contains bit-crush sounding drum kits and synth notes that provide a beat to make you jam while listening to it normally. But in game, your state of mind is completely different. Instead, you remain focused, vigilant, or panicked, depending on the situation. We'll need 5 tapes to move on to the next level. The tapes we find here are all about initiation and information. There's informative tapes about how to handle guns, such as the 4 rules of gun safety.
U.S. Marine Colonel Jeff Cooper's first rule of gun safety is that guns are always loaded. Even if you've just unloaded it seconds ago or seen someone else do it, treat it as if it's still loaded.
There's uplifting tapes telling you to keep spirits high.
The most important virtue of a receiver is mental resilience, and the only way to build resilience is to practice rebounding from adversity.
There's tapes about how harmful media can affect your way of thinking.
We live in a world in which hostile thoughts and ideas are constantly present in the media, pressing in on our consciousness. Events are often also outside of our control, but not outside of control.
There's tapes about the history of the firearm you have.
In the 1850s, the Connecticut Valley was the steampunk equivalent of today's Silicon Valley, with early industrialists harnessing the power of the river to create water and steam-powered factories.
And there's even tapes that will try and kill you.
This is my last will and testament. I leave my car to Claire. It has the service light on, but it runs okay. I hope it helps you more than I ever did. Whatever's left in my bank account can go to my dad. He can decide what to do with it. To whoever finds this, just put my body in the trash. It's where I belong.
Yes, even the cassette tapes aren't safe from the threat. Threat echoes can and will manifest in the dreaming, and you will have to identify and prepare for when they do. They'll take control of your body and force you to do the unthinkable. If this happens, unload your firearm quickly so the threat is completely powerless against you. Such Mindtech is possible to learn by simply understanding your firearm inside out and identifying when a threat echo is playing. Okay, so let's go and take a look at the Model 10 real quick. So we open the cylinder with E. There we are. We actually have 6 cylinders all ready to go. So it does say that I can insert 38 special rounds into the chamber with Z. Also, in case anyone's wondering, I can spin the cylinder with the mouse wheel, which actually will be very useful later at a later time. But I actually set my insert bullet key to Q. So it is Z or Q. I use Q most of the time because that works out really nicely. We close the cylinder with R, and we are all set to go. After that, we can pull the hammer back with F and aim and fire as we so desire. Now, of course, let me go and uncock this real quick. To do so, you simply hold the hammer and then hit the trigger and let go, and it just goes. Easy as that. So let me go ahead and unload this. I'll open the cylinder, and in case anyone's wondering, G is the button to pick up things. So I hold that, and I hit V, which deploys the plunger, so it can push out the rounds. I'll go and load in one. Also, little thing to note is how exactly that's loaded. We'll get to that later, but real quick, I wonder if I can do this here. These guns are incredibly loud, so be careful. So of course, obviously, can't exactly extract this casing here, but if I were to put in a live one, it flies out easily. So one thing to note, yes, you're going to have to use the plunger. That one just comes out. In some cases, they will actually get stuck. So let's go and have a look here. Nope, they all came out this time. Okay. So sometimes they'll get stuck, so you just have to kind of, really get them out. It'll take a bit of time, but it's not that big an issue. I suppose one other thing that should also be said is how to render the gun safe, because as I have this unloaded, if I have the hammer back and I just hit tab to stow it away, it'll go off. Of course, I can put it in slowly, but of course, I don't exactly enjoy the slow draw. One, it takes up too much time, and two, I'd rather not think about it too much, but of course having the hammer back as well will, once again, as I said before, blow a hole in your leg. So it is very important that you are very careful. The best way to make sure that this gun does not go off is pretty simple. On a round right now, next to another one, put simply, the best way to, not blow a hole in your leg is just keep the hammer forward. Easy as that. Nothing crazy. Next up, we have the Colt Detective Special, and we're actually in a really, really good spot right here. So you can actually see that I actually have two blocked chambers right now, and I have them just perfectly set up here to show off a couple of things. First off is the way that the Colt and the Model 10 differ. So the Smith & Wesson Model 10 and every other revolver will always rotate counterclockwise, meaning they'll go to the left. The Colt will instead move clockwise. Rarely you will actually get all 6 cylinders all open up to you. Sometimes, very rarely, you'll have 2 different or very similar, you'll have 2 different cylinders blocked. Very, very rarely will you ever get 2 cylinders blocked. But at the same time, most of the time you usually will have 1 cylinder blocked with either the Model 10 or Detective Special. Pretty much all the controls are pretty much the same, so really everything I said about the Smith & Wesson Model 10 could easily be put into the Colt Detective Special. Now, I will be right back because there's something I need to show you. And that thing is in fact actually best shown right here. So, real quick, one thing to be known about with a lot of different guns actually, anything that has an exposed hammer, be careful around bushes like these ones, because if you have your gun in your holster, watch it carefully. So I'm gonna pull it off with a light there. There we go. So if you heard, also, by the way, yes, all these are, this is obviously unloaded, but I could easily have a loaded round if I want to. So here we go. So I'm gonna do it again. So that click you hear right there is, as you can see, on a live round. So you have to be very, very careful if you decide to mess around and, be in bushes for too long. Even that little bit of movement, just that little bit, even one singular bush can sometimes actually do that, and you'll just have a potential hole in your leg if you, So, be careful out there, people. We should progress eventually to a sleep, one step closer to becoming an awake receiver. Here, we'll run into drones, deadly rascals that fly around at great speed to zap your heart out. They're extremely deadly and very difficult to pin down, as they can't easily be hacked due to their unpredictable 360-degree sight radius and hovering nature. They'll move, spin, and scan all around in an effort to track us down. The worst part? They're gravely brittle to bullets, even cracking in half if shot in the main body. But they don't drop ammo. Wasting your reserves on them feels even more gut-wrenching when you can't even loot them to make a comeback. But even worse is the fact that now, ammo doesn't always drop from turrets. Even the tapes aren't safe, as they're now a lot quieter than before. Another important change as well is the environment. It's a subtle, not really major thing, but if you notice, the rooms have gotten a little bit darker. That's because the lights have been turned off, limiting your visibility and hiding some sleeping turrets a lot better. You can turn them on, there's switches in almost every room, but it just adds to the uncanniness of this place. The tapes we're hunting down now contain more pressing information, focusing more on Mindtech, a sort of barrier from harmful thoughts and ideas, and strengthening it for yourself and others around you, while also borrowing from the other pools too.
Mindtech is a collection of techniques that form a system for strengthening and then honing your natural capability to combat the threat. In its most basic form, it is a sequence of thoughts, feelings, and ideas that, when executed in proper order, result in protection of your mind from outside attacks. Ultimately, with enough practice, Mindtech can become a weapon that can strike back at the threat.
Mindtech is a rather important thing, and allows you to better protect yourself from the threat. The music too has turned sinister, with deafening bass sounds. Thankfully, the threat shot themselves in the foot this time. Though the environment is darker and the music is hindering to our hearing, though only slightly, it allows us to focus on developing our Mindtech in spotting. The lights on all Killdrones are blindingly bright, making them really easy to spot in the dark. The combat music is no different to the changing world around us too. This track, called Dreaming, uses the same type of instruments, but is much more serious in its tone and utilization. In some parts, it sounds almost robotic. Right here we have the Glock 17. So, as our first start into semi-automatics, we have the highest capacity, but I'm going to say this now, the Glock is a needy bitch. So first things first, let's go ahead and pull the magazine out. We just hit E, pull the mag out, and I'm going to do a little something special here. I'm going to hold G, and we're going to hit R. Okay. That racks the slide back. So you can see our magazine is has a few crosses on it, little X's there and everything. That simply says that well, I don't know what, but basically something is blocking it from going further. So, with just the mag here, we can take a round out by hitting R. We can put rounds in by Q. We can fill it up to 7 rounds. With a gun here, of course with our mag we hit Q, shove it right in. With the gun, with our firearm here, we can hit R to rack the slide, hold T and lock the slide, and then hit T while the slide is back, and it'll just go right forward. There's also, for the Glock 17, we actually have a switch. It doesn't exactly tell you what side is semi-auto and which side's full auto, but as you can see here, this is semi-auto, this is full auto. Just figured I'd tell you that right now. Anyways, so to load up, we slap our mag in with Q, we rack the slide with R, and we are ready to fire. How did I miss that? Are you shitting me? There we go. You can also see, real quick, I am shaking very noticeably. This is a very important thing, as you can see here. There we go. So, like I said before, the Glock is a needy b****. So, here's how things work with this bad boy. So, we're going to take our mag out with E, put that aside. We're going to load the mag up here in a little bit, but first things first, we hold T and hit R. And by holding these two, we can actually check and see that there is a round loaded in the chamber. We hold G and hit R, collect the round. Now, the fun part comes. How do you render this safe to holster? Because, of course, there's no safety on this. So, no matter what I do, there's no safe way of having this and just sending it away, because that'll happen. So we have an issue. So the best way to render this safe, as we load it around, is simply we take our round from inside the chamber. It is now out. We can load in our mag. There we go. And we just slap that back in. Now, of course, you can also pull the slide back and lock it open. And that way, it's all ready to go until, of course, you finally come into contact with a potential target, in which case you simply pull it out, hit T, and you are ready. As you see here, this is what's known as, of course, a failure. Semi-automatic pistols are going to fail in many different ways. This is one of them. So, with this here, this is a stovepipe. It's really nothing serious or bad or anything, don't worry. It's really simple. You just pull it right out. You just hold R and just rack the slide back, and you're set to go. So this is not often a problem with the Glocks, but it will happen quite a lot with the high point. This is what's simply known as out of battery. As you can see, the gun is kind of somewhat there, but not fully, and we can also see that there is basically nothing blocking the chamber. It's just simply out of battery. All we need to do is just hit T and just push it forward, and you're all set to go. Nothing crazy, nothing wild, it's pretty simple. So this right here is simply what's known as a failure to feed. So we check and see that there is a round, but not ready in the chamber here. For this, we just hit Q, and then we just hold R to rack the slide back as a tap, rack, bang. Super simple, very basic, but it works. Oh, okay, this is known as a double feed. So in case something like this happens, of course you can see there is a stuck round in the chamber, and the slide was not able to pull it out and extract it properly, so it's kind of stuck in there for right now. So all we need to do here is we just pull back on the slide so that we're able to get pressure off of the round trying to go into the magazine. And if we need to, we can reset it, but usually we just hold T and lock the slide back, take that out, our bullet will drop, we'll stuff that back in, and all we can do is just kind of, we can obviously rack it, but another thing also that can be done, especially for the Glock too, is just kind of press check, as this is what this is simply just press checking to see when the actual casing comes out. Sometimes it'll be stuck, we'll obviously see, until we see brass, then we're all set to go, and we're all ready. The other hammerless gun we have compared to the Glock is the Hi-Point C9. What am I doing? There we go. So, if at all you don't know, go ahead and check out my other video, and you'll see how hard I shit on this thing. There is like 2 balloons, I swear to God. Anyways, doesn't matter. So, just like with the Glock, we're going to have a look. Insert new rounds with Q. We have 6 instead of 8, which is all fine. I'm going to check the breech here. We have a round loaded in. And here's a cool thing, actually, is that your trigger is actually dead while you don't have a when you don't have the mag loaded in. And I'm just going to go ahead and unload that real quick. We're going to load this mag in, and kind of a neat little feature, to say the least. So you can actually just take the mag out and just simply leave it there if you want whenever you're hacking, if you so desire. But you also have a safety. You hear that, Glock? You sack of shit. The Hi-Point has a safety. Now, I understand. I might be, honestly, I might admittedly have some people kind of questioning as I'm talking some good points about the Hi-Point, but the fact that it actually has just an in-general safety of not having the mag in, and also just having an in-general safety, trust me, I'm not saying that I like the Hi-Point more than the Glock or anything. Don't you go and change my words around, I swear to God.
You like Hi-Points, don't you, Koga?
All I'm saying is, at least the Hi-Point has a safety. Let me actually talk about some of the proper bad stuff. First off, you can't check your... obviously, you can't check your slide because, you know, safety's on. So, you know, that's obviously fun. But another thing also that I'll show here is check out this trigger pull. That took so much weight. I you know, like, watch this, watch this. I'm pressing it now. Look how like, okay. Like, real shit. Look at this. Watch the pullback slide to chamber round. Watch that light up. And clicking now. You see how long that shit takes? That is a heavy ass trigger. Good God, like, okay, real shit. Watch this, watch this. I'm tapping, I'm just gonna tap the trigger here. Like, do you hear my mouse clicking here? Watch this, watch this. That's me aiming. That delay is so ass. Mother of God, that is absolutely terrible. I have a corded mouse, hang on. Jesus Christ, that is awful. Holy shit. Sure, this thing at least does have fucking safeties and whatnot, and I will give the edge to that, but God, this thing is horrible in so many other ways. Like I said, check out my other video and you'll see how shit this thing is. If you have, say, a double feed, guess what? You can in fact take the mag out, but to actually lock it back, you need to, of course, rack the slide out and hit your safety. Yeah. You hit your safety and can take the mag out afterward. And of course, it just goes straight out of battery. What a winner. If you make it any deeper, you'll reach Sleepwalker, an increasingly difficult stage where turrets are a little bit less common and ceiling turrets take their place. Ceiling turrets are tougher to identify, but they have two very major weaknesses. One is their much slower firing rates, while the other is their higher elevation, making it a lot harder for them to spot us from above. Drones are more common, and ammo is becoming more scarce. Not only that, but there's now also a thunderstorm, deafening our senses. The difficulty is increasing rapidly, but thankfully we do have some advantage. For one, we've been strengthening our Mindtech and are starting to get comfortable with the firearms provided for us. Not only that, but we're also getting better firearms too. And now that we've made it to Sleepwalker, the required tapes have gone from 5 to only 4. The tapes contain more information and lore, but also borrow from Receiver 1, this time using the new voice actor, Leo Wiggins. The music comes back to drone in our ears again, but instead of bass to hinder our hearing, instead it tests our Mindtech. The droning is used in a way that makes us feel like we aren't supposed to be here, or more accurately, that we're getting close to our end goal. The combat tune, known as the threat, funny enough, is less intensive. I don't know what's up with Wolfire and making tunes that bop this hard, yet are really good at making you focused on your task. Things will not get easier from here, but it's not all bad. Alright, so we have a thunderstorm going on right now, but don't worry, we're not going to pay it any mind. We have the 1911 here. So round already in, no need to worry, we'll just... So, once again, obviously, pretty much everything, as I said before, is notable here. The usual failures, the usual problems, all that sort of stuff, still here. We have a 5-round mag, we can get 7 rounds, of course. Once again, remove rounds with R, insert with Q, and shove it right in. Now this time we actually have a hammer, so that actually makes things interesting. Now, of course, you do have a safety. You can't actually engage it right now, because we actually need to, well, not really rack around, but, you know. Oops. So we don't actually have to rack around for this here. We can actually just pull the hammer back, and then engage our safety. So our trigger is dead, Our hammer is back, and our slide is locked. But even still, not exactly too big an issue. Of course, with the hammer forward, there's no way that you can do anything. I'll even chamber around. Nothing. You have to have the hammer back to actually fire, which is really nice. Ah, yes. The great, the venerable, the powerful.
There's an eagle. .50.
So, this guy, as I will quickly show a meme and its translation here in just a moment, the 50 Desert Eagle has been memed to oblivion. Obviously, it's been very much feared and hated by the receiver to community for obvious reasons. 50 Action Express is a killer, deadly round. 50 Action Express will kill you if you decide to blow your leg out. But I'm here to tell you that you do not have to worry about any of that at all. Do not fear this thing. 50 Action Express is fun, not dangerous. We have the usual stuff here. I think we have four. Yeah, we have 4 rounds, plus 1, of course. Little limiting, but of course, you know, getting those extra 3 rounds shouldn't be too difficult. And even with only 5 rounds to work with in total, it's not exactly that bad. You have a safety that can be engaged at any time, and you also have a hammer to hit the firing pin. Pretty simple stuff, nothing super crazy, but I can show you that there is nothing at all to worry about. If anyone comes at you and says the 50 is so ridiculously difficult to work with, you gotta be very careful with it, you don't need to worry about any of that shit. I don't know why people always go on saying the 50 is so dangerous and problematic and everything. It's not that bad. Okay? It really isn't that bad. All you need to do is just treat this thing like a 1911. You just hammer forward and you're good. No need to worry. If you somehow made it to Liminal, you've gone farther than most. It's not easy to get to this stage, so be a little proud of yourself. The fight's not over though, as now we have even tougher enemies, adding armor to the normal and ceiling turrets. They're a lot tougher to shoot and even harder to hack. Ammo is, again, almost impossible to find. We can get lucky from one of the turrets, but more often than not, we'll need to more rely on the few balloons and hacking turrets in general to save as much ammo as possible. The tapes show we're getting closer to our goal and build more lore on the receivers. The music is now even stranger, more bizarre. It evokes discomfort and fear. The combat track, Fire, aptly named, is also tense. It barely gives you many notes to really listen to as it flickers in and out over and over, giving the track a feeling of tension and stress. Even the world state seems a lot worse. It's blinding and saturating our vision with this constant orange hue. For the world of the dreaming is starting to burn. Alright, the SIG P226. Now we're getting to that good shit. So, the SIG is, again, just like all the others, they are the exact same. In terms of rendering safe, you just simply have the hammer forward, and you don't need to worry about anything. Most of the time, just hammer forward, and you're all set to go. Now, the neat thing about the SIG is that you actually can decock the hammer by hitting your quote-unquote safety. Because, of course, there is no safety. There's actually just a decocker, which is one of only 2 that actually has a legitimate decocker, which is honestly really useful. Now, granted, of course, like I said, you have to be careful around bushes, because obviously it will. But it's not that big an issue. It's not that big a deal. It is super nice, super chill, and with this thing being in 9mm, doesn't mean shit, because we can have upwards of 15 plus 1 capacity, which is really, really nice. It's not as good as the 17+1, but honestly, this thing is a lot safer. It also has a double action trigger, which is super useful as well. Finally, we have the Beretta M9. First off, of course, we do have another 15+1 magazine, and fun little thing also, we have a hammer that we can cock back. Here's a cool little thing, is first off, not only do we have a safety, it also functions as a decocker, which is super useful. Now I'm going to go ahead and unload this real quick. And as you can see, we have a very useful thing here, as it remains as a decocker. Now, I'm going to let's see if I can actually see this here. So if you hit the safety, the reason as to why it also works as a decocker, for one final failsafe, it actually moves the firing pin out of the way, which is super, super useful. Now here's one last little interesting trick, is obviously you can't have the hammer back at all. So if, for instance, I'm walking around in a bush, I don't know if I can see that, I think I can. If you can see very carefully, you can see that the hammer is back, and it just goes straight forward. No issues, no problems at all. This thing is downright incredible. And once again, of course, as I unload this real quick, this also has a double action trigger, which is super, super nice. Though, seriously, talking off script, do listen to the Fire instrumental track. It's got some damn good electric guitar riffs. Did they name the track off the level, or did they just call it that after they made it, but weren't really sure of an actual name for it, so they just shipped it like this? I'm really not sure. Please clarify this for me, Wolfire. You've done it. You've made it to a wake. Few have gotten this far before you. But the trials are not yet done. There's 3 more tapes to listen to. Whatever firearms you've come to love and enjoy are things of the past now, as all you will have is a Colt single-action army. Every time you make it to a wake, you'll always spawn with the Colt single-action. Now, not only do you have to deal with almost no ammo anywhere, aside from the rare armored turrets and maybe some ammo boxes, and the drones flying everywhere, but you now have to learn a completely different gun and deal with security cameras too. Okay, we finally made it to the end, and we have the Colt single-action army. So, compared to the other revolvers, this one is a special beast entirely. So, let's see what we can do to shoot these balloons here. So first off, normally we would check the chamber, see what's going on. Well, all we have actually is just a loading gate, which makes things a little interesting. So how exactly do you, in fact, load this thing? Well, first off, obviously, we have the loading gate we can open at any time, thankfully. What we need to do, in comparison to just normally doing things, because of course we can't really put in a cartridge. See if we actually have a live round. We do. Thank God. We can get a few rounds here. Easy as that. So, let's go ahead and see if we can get that cartridge out and fill this thing up fully. So, what we do is in comparison to just sending the hammer all the way, what we do is tap it to get into what's called half cock. So, we're now able to open the loading gate, and we can now spin the cylinder. So here's our fired case. We extract it with V. Yep, it's that simple. So of course, as to be expected, to of course get rid of empty casings, we need to do that, and to be rendered safe, we just simply have it at half cock and just hold G, and just collect the rounds until we are safe. In this place here, we don't have to worry about any potential threat echoes by chance, thankfully, but you will get this in other levels if you get this far. So it is important to know how to make sure you are safe. So, of course, as we expected, we're able to pull back the hammer and fire as we wish. We're also able to pull the hammer back and put it back forward, as always. To load, we just insert one, we spin the mouse wheel, and load in all 6. Easy as that. Here's a little interesting thing. Obviously, as I unload this really quickly here, advance that over. Normally, I would in fact say that obviously you're not supposed to have it at the full cock position, because that'll happen. But here's the thing, is that I would also not recommend having it even like so, because, and that was also very dangerous. The reason is, if you land hard enough with the hammer forward, you could potentially do this. Yeah, that's a thing that could very easily happen. So be careful, people. So what I would recommend with the Colt Single Action Army, if you want to holster it safely without it possibly just banging immediately once you possibly have a hard landing, which is very likely to happen, which can basically happen at any point, even if it is in your holster, it will just simply go off if at all you land too hard. And that's because of its fixed firing pin. So what I would recommend is simply keep it in half cock until, of course, you need it. Then go full cock. If you don't, just put it back to half cock. That's simple, nothing at all problematic. And no matter what, the trigger is dead, and you can land as hard as you like. Hopefully without killing yourself, of course. Quickly talking about the music, you might have noticed we've looped back onto the same track, Inductee. This was in the introduction level, for those who forgot. The track is calm, but now it feels like we're on the edge. We're close now. The combat track is a little bit different, though. That feeling of tension is merely a fallacy of our own making, because we're so very close. In fact, it should be a little bit familiar. As this track was used in the beginning, we felt a tension like this when we almost got shot by that turret long ago. Look at how far we've come, from an abundance of deadly turrets to an abundance of security cameras? Yes, in the last level, the security cameras are by far the most dangerous. These security cameras did show up before in Liminal, but they're a lot more prevalent in Awake. They aren't threatening by themselves, and are even somewhat easy to hack. The real danger is what they'll do if they spot you. Should they, you'll have a decent-sized window to get out of sight and out of range, because they don't have a motion sensor on them, thankfully. But if they do get a lock on you, they'll sound an alarm, calling for all the drones in the area to investigate. If that happens, you better make a run for it. If you don't, you'll likely be surrounded. As I said before, there's 3 more tapes to listen to. And the 3 tapes are the 3 insights to becoming an awake receiver. If you find all 3 tapes and listen to all 3 insights, you will become an awake receiver. Congratulations, you completed Receiver 2. My goodness. Well, that is another video all done. I literally just got done with the video, and I'm recording this segment with live gameplay, funny enough. So, thank you all so very much for watching. Jesus. So, I know there were a few things I wasn't able to include in the video. One, of course, is that. you can literally just smash through windows. I did show some footage of me just blasting a hole in the window to get into it and everything. I didn't know about that little trick until recently, so, you know, that's kind of fun to know about. If at all you enjoyed it, do leave a like on the video. It really shows your appreciation for the work that I put in, which is probably way too much for such a simple and really not that great video, but, you know, I appreciate it nonetheless. If you have anything you want to say to me, you want to ask me a question, or you just simply want to talk with some other very civilized people on the internet, put it down in the comments below. Share this with your friends or family, anyone that you think might enjoy, one, the game itself actually, and two, anyone that might possibly enjoy the video. Go and check out some of the other videos I've made. I have made quite a few different videos. The last video I did on Receiver 2, talking about the, well, basically more so kind of having a bit of fun with, there we go. Obviously having a bit of fun with trying to get all the challenges. That actually features the compound. I don't know if I talked about that already, but just in case. The compound is a really good spot to test yourself, get some other guns, and really get used to handling guns whenever you get the chance when you finally unlock them. In the comments below, go ahead and let me know, one, what you think about this game, of course. What was your most heartbreaking defeat? Do be sure to watch how much you consume some media, be it YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, whatever sort of stuff. Just monitor how much you're consuming of media. If you've been at this for like 4 hours or so, my guy, like if you just recently started and you were looking for a couple of videos and it's been like 10 minutes or something like that and all, and you reached this video, first off, thank you. And second off, maybe now could be actually a good time for having a break. Sitting down and just having light in your eyes is usually not very good. So do be sure to get up and move around a little bit and just get a screen out of your eyes. One, it's bad for your eyes because of the blue light. I have some blue blocking glasses, funny enough. But still, do be sure of just how much media you're consuming. Be it games you're playing, you're looking at your phone, you're looking at your screen. Just try and get away, get up and move a bit. Get your, get some blood flowing and everything. One thing that I can show from the tape that I showed as well is the Trojan horse, which is at the very end here. Practice basic media safety. Act, don't react. There we go, finally. So, I'll show one little secret here. Jeez. Anyone that doesn't know, the Halloween update went and brought in something truly terrifying. And it is, yeah, I need a bit more room for this. Fucking Jesus. There he is. Gotta be careful. Get a bit more room. Oh, jeez, here he comes.